That's so true.
You have another, it's like a squishy fruit that you really have to like keep with you, but then like make sure they stay warm.
This is the Real Mom Hub. Keep listening for relatable content. I'm sorry, Kevin. Could you repeat that, please?
ABR, always be recording.
No.
Full podcast 101.
So just create content all the time, is what
Yeah.
you're saying.
It is sort of like that living with Kevin Ruhl, gonna be honest.
I mean, yeah, I believe it. Theater
Genius.
kids.
Yeah, genius comes and goes. Yep.
Cool. So what do you do with the bad fish?
You don't use it. You just get rid of it.
And who gets rid of it?
Callie.
Yeah,
She-
in this case, that's correct.
She edits.
I mean,
Our life, too, is this like a big metaphor for our life?
that's what I was wondering a little bit. Anyways, hey, hi, hello.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Kev.
Hello.
Kevin's in house.
Kevin P. Ruhl.
Hey everybody, I'm Callie's husband, Kevin.
Okay, this is funny because my adjectives were going to be my kind, funny,
Yep.
and my third
Yep.
adjective was creative husband, Kevin, but now I might. It's not
How
looking
about
good
that?
for you after that.
I mean, those are top of mind for me too to describe Kevin Ruhl for
Mhm.
sure. Oh yeah. I mean, I would also add that he's daddy to Charlie and Nora. Like he gifted both sides. Like Charlie's the first grandkid on both sides. So
Mm-hmm.
What can I say?
phenomenal dad also.
Put a lot of time and effort into that one.
Yeah. Is it time and effort that you love to remember fondly, look back on and say,
Did you mean time and effort in his conception or his upbringing for the last 3.5 years?
Yes.
oh, I was
Oh,
talking about the
okay.
conception.
Mainly the
For
first
sure.
one. Yeah,
Yeah.
the conception.
Yeah, I think we were all talking about the conception.
I
Cal.
worked really hard. How about that?
Okay, you know what? To just lead things off, I think we've gotten a very roundabout introduction for you. I'm pleased with it.
Good luck
dig in a little
editing that,
deeper.
Cal.
I know.
We'll dig in a little deeper as the episode goes on. But
For
I
those
wanted
that
to
care to, sorry to cut you off, Emily, but for those that care to know who are just out there listening, a couple extra descriptors of Kevin that
okay, let's
were
go.
missed, but could be said. Sexy, tall,
Yeah.
suave.
Yep.
I think
That-
that was a few.
That's
I mean, you
about
can-
right
you can
to
keep
stop
going.
there. No, I was hoping that was going to kickstart some more from you guys, but
All right, Kevin. I believe it was Geek Chic.
yeah,
I mean, you had a Geek
Yeah.
Chic summer. It was actually the summer before you got married. You were in your Geek Chic era, if I recall.
I was. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some self-discovery there, some celebration of the Geek Chic.
I still don't know really what it means, but I went for it. I thought like that character Chuck on NBC. That's Geek Chic.
When I hear
Mhm.
Geek Chic, which actually the only time I've ever heard that was when you said it. But anytime I hear it in the future, you will be the poster man for Geek Chic.
I prefer Poster Child, but that's just me.
All right, so we're here to talk about putrescence. I'm going to bring us back. We're talking about putrescence, which that is essentially outlining this identity shift that you go through, this huge change in your life as a human when you become a father. So when you became a dad, I want to know what shook you to your core.
Whoa, right out of the gate.
Let's go.
I wrote down some, sorry for the listeners. That was my paper.
Thank you. Try not to do that. All right, keep going. You're doing great.
I'm sorry, what?
You got to stop managing your husband. He's going through some creative genius.
I might mute myself. All right, you go.
Leaving the house. You
Like,
become
after you had the kid.
you become a parent and leaving the house is never the same. Ever.
That's so good point.
You have another you have like a squishy fruit that you really have to like keep with you, but then like make sure they stay warm. There was often for the people that haven't had, like I think about for myself before I became a dad, how would I have heard advice that made sense to like my actions that need to be my actions, I have to say, like squishy fruit honestly embodies like you can't let the juice run out.
I'm actually really vibing with this. Yeah.
You get what I'm
Yeah.
saying though? Like there's so
Yeah.
much
Like I
tenderness that you have to have and
totally. Yeah.
urgency to protect the amount of
Yeah.
cloths that go around a baby's head. Cal and I didn't
Yeah.
have a neck support system in our car seat, so we rolled up a towel every time we left our
We had a
house.
very legal car seat, but we
Well,
didn't have like
yes.
the newborn insert that like keeps their head
Oh,
from
yeah.
going
I
like
can
that.
picture it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had the legal
So,
car seat from the side of the road.
Okay, switching.
yeah, I do remember that. Yep. For folks who don't know, they did find their firstborn's car seat on the side of the road.
Okay, it was the
It
house we moved into. They had like they were finished with their car seat. We like sort of knew the family. It's like kind of almost as ratchet as it sounds, but only almost.
I prefer to tell the story for all people to know that we picked up our first car seat off the side of the road.
Okay.
Granted, it was the house we moved into.
it
We
was on
picked
the
it
road
up
though.
right after the people put it outside, but we were like, hey, this is going to be useful. I mean, we were two teachers that did not have, we weren't in a position to pay for all of the bills that come with the
Okay.
baby.
Car seats are so expensive.
Really
They're-
expensive.
It's a
I
lot
don't
of
really
plastic
think
for
about that.
$300 per seat. Then
And
you
when you
expand to two cars, and then you get your grandparents involved in childcare, and now you're paying for three car seats for one kid for
Yeah.
ease of access. It's
Or
That
ridiculous.
definitely I'm really vibing with you on the squishy fruit. Like I'm picturing specifically peaches in late July, like early August.
Oh, they smell so
Oh,
good.
they smell so good. And it's
Oh.
just like you touch them and they're not the same after you touch them. They're so perfect. And anyways, we can
Yeah.
move on. We're going to circle back. I want some more things that really shook you, although really like the leaving the house one. I forgot about
Me
that. I
too.
genuinely forgotten like what it feels like to just leave the house as your own human. Like I can't even picture that anymore. So thank you
Mhm.
for bringing that up.
It's heaven on earth, really. Just leaving for yourself. Just like
Leaving for yourself.
just walking
Yeah.
right out the door. Not worrying
Yeah.
about a door closing on something or someone behind you. That's
Totally. I am gonna come back to the shook because I want some more. I feel
okay.
like that was a taste. We're gonna go deeper. But I want to paint a little context because you're quite precocious, Kevin Ruhl. You got married when you were 24. You had Charlie when you were also 24.
Yeah.
Wait, you were
I was still 24, Cal. You were the
He
cougar of
was.
the house.
I was thinking
You were
about it.
by 3
25.
months.
Yeah. Yeah. So you had an unexpected pregnancy like 2 months into your marriage.
1.
One. Great. Oh yeah, because almost a almost a honeymoon baby. Anyways, some statistics for you. As of 2022, the median age for men entering their first marriage in America is 30 years. And then fatherhood, first time fatherhood, that comes at age 27. So if we're just talking about both of those items, you're way ahead of your time. And as far as I know from your friends, very much doing life differently than your whole peer group
Yep.
and family members.
Yep.
How's that been for you?
Um, I would say like in a sense it was pretty isolating. Like just to, like jump into it. There's nobody to bounce ideas off of. Nobody that was close to me that felt like I could genuinely be able to share my frustration or like my needs, like peer to peer, and have them
Mhm.
actually understand what it is I'm talking about. The way to alleviate and process that situation is probably just left up more to jokes and not really allowing myself to identify like I'm like this is tough. I don't really know what I'm doing and don't I don't know in some capacity it was a I don't feel like I have the capacity to go to the resources that I like. I'm sure there's plenty of stuff out there in terms of like how to be a good dad, but it's so new and so different and then it like yeah, isolating. There's just not a lot or any people in my life that went through it the same time I did. And Cal and I had to talk about that like right out of the gate of like, we're going to be the first. And in some fashion, because we were frustrated about it. We're like, this is going to be tough in some ways. But then I know I had to say out loud for myself, like, I can't get bitter about that idea or that concept because A, it was our fault, like our actions created the opportunity. But then B, it's our friends are going to have kids and they're going to be at that place and potentially feeling similarly to how I'm feeling. And then it's like, I can be that resource because I've gone through it, or I can offer support.
Do you think you would have reached out and talked about, like, dad things had there been someone in your shoes?
I think
Because
if they were close enough. So I'm thinking like the close college roommates, the like primarily the first person that comes into mind is like if Gabe side by side was experiencing fatherhood same time, I probably would have been on the phone minimally once a week with him. There was also like a sense in my head running through of all of our friends are 24, some younger, some slightly older. Like most of them were in a dual income, no kids situation of like, we're going through life together. We're seeing them post on social media about all these extravagant trips that people seem to be able to afford and go on. And Cal and I are sitting back buying our first house. But like nobody else was doing that. Nobody else was like nesting. Nobody else was trying to extend their roots. It's like everybody's trying to launch their career,
Mhm.
pouring into that, but then also like living life outside of it, going to bars. And there's just, I would say, outside of kids, like there's other situations where like we moved back to my hometown against Callie's wishes. Thanks, Cal. That also like we didn't have that like intentional base of people around us. It kind of felt like it was us. And it was right around COVID and all that fun jazz. So many different layers. But it's like, yeah, if there was somebody that was my age, Cal, close enough to me, I think there would have been more conversation. And truthfully, like Cal's met those people much quicker than I have in the Wausau area where we live.
Mhm.
I'm able to be friends with the dads of those families, and these relationships are getting stronger and stronger. But that trust, that camaraderie in a way, wasn't really present in a way where it's like, yeah, I'll call you up and just chat.
Well, and I felt that as a mom, the whole like, well, like I know there are resources, but I just don't have the capacity to look for them, nor do I feel like they really vibe with me. And I'm not comparing my situation to yours because I had Callie. So I had, you know,
Hey,
I understand that impulse of like, I know there are things out there, but I actually just don't have energy or capacity to look for them and then figure out if they vibe with me. And, anyways,
I mean, I feel like the record should be said that the resources were as close as the book was on the coffee table while I was sitting on the couch.
yeah, but absorbing
And
for me when I'm tired, absorbing like a full chapter of a book. Are you kidding me?
exactly.
Like, who is your wife and how does she do that? I don't know, Kevin.
If I can choose binge watching something or intentionally reading a book about how I want to make parenting decisions and I have 4 hours of sleep on the docket, I'm going to be watching some TV. That's just,
I
you
support
know,
you.
as long as I'd say as long as they're healthy, happy and safe, what else do you need? Maybe a little bit of structure.
And this is where the complementarity between you and Cowpaw comes in. I love it. I mean, you outlining all of those things, Kyle and I actually talked about that a lot when you guys were going through it, but you really don't know even a little bit what it's like until you're in it. Like having Kieran made me want to write like thank you slash I'm sorry note to every single woman in my life that I had watched have a baby to just be like, I didn't know. Like I didn't know what you were going through. Like I'm so sorry. Like I had no idea how to show up for you.
Mm.
Like, I just didn't, and I don't know if you really can until you go through it. But I wanna know how you avoided feelings of bitterness when you were watching those Instagram reels, when you were buckling down to buy your first house, and you were talking about all your friends kinda launching their careers, which, by the way, you and Kelly also did that when you were having babies. So, I mean, you did all these things, and you guys are always funny. Like, Kevin, you make me laugh all the time, even when Callie is complaining about something you did. I usually think it's funny, like 9 times out of 10. So,
It probably was.
So,
Just
like,
saying.
how do you how'd you do that?
I think I how do I say it? My personality, I think I show Cal a lot more of the I'm frustrated, a lot more of the I think this is a little bit of bullfish right now. Commentary that kind of runs through my head, but it's like a way of like if I get it out, then I'm not gonna sit and stew on it. And sometimes I'll get into a loop. I mean, Cal, you probably know what I'm talking about, but like it just like I'll fixate on something and it would be a bother or a problem or it's this running through my mind that yeah, it's hard. It's really easy to get bitter and be like, gosh, what could have been? And I mean, ultimately, Cal, I've said it multiple times, like you ever think about what life would be like without kids right now? And it's like you get that almost that feeling of like the dopamine rush of like, no, like that would be a cool life to have. But then like so much emotion and thought, memory floods back in right after it of the joy that kids bring.
That's a perfect pivot into what are moments of deep joy or happiness that you can think of that were surprising to you?
The potty training. I mean, come on. Let's just quickly
Oh
recap
my
Charlie's
god.
journey.
Potty training. Oh my god.
It took him like 3 tries and it was locked in. I
Yeah,
think
no,
No,
he's a
it took him
kid.
3 days of many accidents.
yeah.
I'm
I mean, that's how I heard it. But to be fair, a good chunk of those were spent on a road trip with Callie.
Yeah, okay,
Like,
come
if I
on. How can you
recall.
not have joy in, as a parent when you're driving down the highway and your kid goes, "Hey, I have to go potty," and you're like, "It's go time. Find the nearest exit, whip out the little toilet that you carry around in your car, pop it on the ground, have your kid just kind of sitting there, just like doop 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 doo,
It
like
was pretty cute.
waiting for the potty to happen." And we're just all just like vibing in this random parking lot outside of the hotel and in the most secluded place that we could try to find. But like something about the potty training is just like, dude, you get it. You're special. You're cool. I love it. I also
As in,
have,
dude, you're your son, like Charlie, you get
yeah,
it.
yeah. It's just
Um,
you asked me like what brings joy. That's something.
yeah.
Another thing would be I think watching Charlie truly express himself. It's tough because then like I try to join him in the expression and typically he is like, "Oh, people were watching me. I'm not going to do it anymore."
Like, you're trying to help Charlie express Charlie, or you're saying, "Cool, Charlie, you're really expressing yourself. Let me express myself." Like, what do you mean by
Yes,
that?
without any of the words. It's just like if he's vibing and he's singing, it's like I'm gonna sing with you, and I don't know what song we're singing, but it's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
Typically, it
Okay.
gets shut down. He goes, "That's not the song we're singing,"
Yeah.
What a little
He's a little
tyrant.
diva.
which is so funny. And anyway, I would say like with Nora, just like seeing the different personalities between the two kids. Selfishly, I wish Nora at she like she's 16 months now.
18.
She's not quite talking yet, and that to me is like just waiting for it to happen. And I guess like the joy in that when she really takes off is it's going to be incredible. But like today I got home from work and she couldn't stop saying da 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 da
Oh,
da da. But she also like her dancing. Anytime she hears music, she's got to start twirling in a circle.
She
Like it's
does,
just the
yeah.
little things. It's like it's I don't know what brings joy. It's the perspective of just like a child's mind walking through life and finding things to be curious about.
and they are so different. I love it. So we're here to say honest things. So it's okay if you don't have an answer to this. I'm curious if you had any moments of extreme joy or even just happiness that were surprising to you prior to Charlie turning 2.
How about when I kept saying "shart" and he was belly laughing?
No, okay, that reminds me. Pause. I'm yes, that's funny, but
He
how
was
about the
like 8
fact
months
that when
old.
he started talking, anytime he would say sit, it was actually shit,
Oh, yeah.
That was so
and he
funny.
carried that sucker right into church. And he go anytime we would stand up, sit down, Catholic church happens a lot. He would say, "Mama, shit." And he would say it loud. And you only stand up and sit down in church when it's quiet.
Fox. It's just he could not say X.
Yes.
You know,
Fox
it's
was its
even
own special. And the thing is, you don't realize how many foxes are in children's stories until that is an issue.
and then when he gifts the entire extended family with the way that he pronounces coffee.
Oh yeah, I forgot about coffee.
That wrecked me.
It
So
was
for listeners,
yeah.
he would exchange the F and the C sounds.
Fucky for sure.
Yeah, but it really sounded more like something else.
That was the
And
PG
we would
version.
say, "Hey, what's mommy having with breakfast?"
Yep. For the listeners out there, I think our Cal and I's kids are, I don't want to necessarily be a martyr, but like they suck at sleeping. They just are
Yeah,
terrible,
they do.
like
Yeah,
abnormally
they
terrible.
do.
And I
That's true.
think that Cal and I made some parenting choices that potentially extended the terrible phases. But
Well, that was
the
targeted.
No, he looked right at me, didn't he?
He did. I don't even know where you are in his screen, but I know he did.
yeah, I think like it's that coupled with stressful workloads. Some of it just feels like a blur. But I know like if I pulled up like reels in my phone, I captured video evidence of joyous, awesome time with Charlie. And it's just, you know, your brain doesn't really quite mark off memories the same way when you're sleep deprived for 9 to 12 to 18 months in a row.
I was gonna say not 24 months.
I stopped sleeping like probably when Cal hit like month 6 of pregnancy, and it carries right on through.
Why did you stop sleeping?
Yeah, I'm confused as well.
Like
You
that's
did
that's on
not.
you.
Have you heard of the O'Leary thrash?
Oh.
Yeah, yeah.
And like, no, Cal had restless legs. Cal, this is real. You had restless legs. You'd get up in the middle of the
Like,
night
yeah,
all
I
the
know.
time.
Yeah.
I
Like,
would
what, you
say
think he
that
doesn't know these?
another surprising thing for all the dads out there, like mood swings are a real thing. And to be honest, I wasn't sure how to
Surprising.
process the mood swings. No, it's not surprising, but it's
Oh.
like you don't really get it until you see your actual loved one who is carrying your child feel the extremes. And I think maybe for me it was a little different because Cal is very like she's even Steven. Like she can go through life and she can hide a lot, and it stopped hiding when when the mood swings came. So like that, like month 6 to and beyond was just got to be a little extra careful, you know.
Yeah, she's a machine. And also, I mean, I think the whole extended family just deemed that to be her truth telling era, which
Yeah.
never ended. It's
No.
just ongoing, which we're grateful for. But
Some
would have
people
been
are
a real
grateful.
shift for you. So, okay, on that note, what are things that future fathers should know that we don't talk about or that you don't hear about, or things that like you knew roughly to kind of expect mood shifts, mood swings, but then when they happened you were like, what? No one can really tell me that this is coming in a way that I can expect.
The
Are there
lack of
any other?
sleep.
Oh yeah, okay, say more, because you guys are experts in this, I would
Well,
say.
you don't know what it feels like. You don't know how to process it until you experience it. And the reality is, like I read in one of Callie's books that an infant sleeps for 21 hours a day. And that book was a liar. There is
I mean,
no
they
way
probably
any
did.
of our kids from the beginning of their life have slept for 21 hours in a 24-hour cycle.
Well, it was
Zero
just like
chance.
45 minutes on, 45 minutes
Yeah,
off.
they just kind of like zonk. And you
Yeah.
kind of like move them
It's not
around and they
real.
like flop.
No. I mean,
No.
it's also pretty cute when they would do that. Yeah. But I just like I was expecting this glorious experience of like no matter what I do to this kid, he's just gonna sleep on my chest. I'm gonna play video games. I'm gonna have chips next to me, and I'm gonna be like, "Uh-oh, Cal, I can't get up because there's a baby sleeping on me."
So you were gamer dad.
In his
No,
head.
You were
never.
like,
In
no,
my
but
head,
like
I
you
was
thought, that's what I'm saying. You were
never
like,
got teed up
let's go.
correctly. Yeah,
Okay, well, that would have been a brutal awakening for you if that was your expectation here.
it was, and it was sad. Another thing that you can't be prepared for, and I would actually encourage all dads to do this. You need to go look at pictures of a brand new baby before you see the birth. Not watching a birth. I mean, that was a part of Cal and I's process. But you know what? All of our birthing classes were about the birth. It wasn't about the baby that happened from the birth. And I say all of this. I saw Charlie and I was so ready for that like wave of like I'm going to protect him to the end of my days. This is my child.
You
I
knew that
was
that might happen to you? Like, you were
no,
expecting that?
I was so ready for it.
Okay.
I mean, I'm a theater kid, so I'm just like I've seen all the
You're
scenes
thinking
in the
like a Lion
movies.
King moment.
Like,
Yeah.
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 Okay, okay,
Doctor
okay.
holds up the baby.
Yeah.
Doctor holds up
Yeah.
Charlie, my firstborn baby. I didn't know the gender at the time, and I froze. I like the image was still like in my head of like, whoa. First phrase I thought of was, "Are we sure he's done?" Like, I know the birth just happened, but Charlie, I love you. You had a glow up, but the first, I don't, you can't,
He's still speechless.
I
He
don't even
is.
know
Three and
if
a
the,
half
well,
years
here's the
later.
thing. Like, what do you Google newborn baby? Like, no, you don't look that up online. You gotta, like,
Can we dig in here?
I don't
Are
know.
you talking about, like, all the goop covering Charlie? Or,
He
like,
was swollen beyond belief.
yeah, okay.
The baby that came out 2 weeks later, completely different human being.
Yeah.
Completely different.
Can we also say, like, I can't claim to be unbiased because I'm not, but they have like model children. Like, they are so freaking cute. Charlie's got these like big soulful eyes and just super expressive face. Like
They're really cute
they're
now.
so cute.
But
And I
Cal,
saw
Nora,
Charlie 2 days after he was born.
Yeah.
One day, whenever you came home from the hospital. I thought he was so cute then.
I
Like,
think you
when
were
he
very
was
biased then.
no, like when he was just sleeping. Like, he was just like this perfect little baby. He was so cute. He was like really hairy. I loved it.
Harry.
Okay, but like the baby that I met on your front porch is a completely different baby than the alien picture that Kevin
Yes.
reveled in sending to the public. Like his
And his whole
coworkers.
staff.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Like, so Kevin, like, what did you do with that shock? You see your son, he's swollen. Are there any other adjectives you'd care to add to that?
He was pretty goopy.
I
Swollen,
mean, he was
goopy,
goopy, but
red.
like Emily, he was curled up. He like
Y'all, this kid is so cute. Like, I just can't stress this enough.
I love him to death. And but like I was so ready for that like magical like all of the
So
lights shut off in the room and then there's a backlight behind Charlie and it looks like he's like this beautiful gift to this green earth.
Well, you
And
planned lighting for this moment.
like,
That
is
is
there
a theater
like
kid.
fog? Is he kind of like surrounded
yeah,
by
like almost like
is there
angels,
no
just a
mist?
chorus singing in the background.
Yeah. Okay.
We just got so close to describing like the birth of Jesus. But
So Charlie was going to be the second coming. We get it. Okay.
I
And
mean,
then
And then he
in
was
a
a
way I was
gargoyle.
expecting that. But like it caught me off guard so much. The doctor goes, "Hey dad, you want to tell mom the gender of your baby?" And I couldn't talk. I think I was probably quiet for like a solid 3 seconds. And at that point I had processed enough to say, "Okay, at least figure out if you have a son or a daughter." But I'm going to be honest, hey listeners, I couldn't figure it out still.
were
And
you like not capable of looking in the right places?
no,
Or like
it was
I,
everything was so just like bleep. He was just like a little guy, just like little squishy football.
Little fruit.
little
Squishy fruit.
Squishy fruit. Ultimately, the doctor had to announce it. Wasn't ready for that. I was hoping I would be able to say it, but I couldn't. So
Whoa.
So when did the moment happen when you did feel fierce love?
I would say when skin to skin contact happened.
Oh, so
It's
pretty
like
quick.
Yeah.
this is my little guy to take care of.
You've always been so good with newborns, like small
Mhm.
babies.
That's true.
Just very natural with them.
Like way better than I am.
Same. Yeah.
I think it's because I really hope if I'm holding the newborn, nobody's going to ask me to do something else.
Well, you excel, Kevin Ruhl. That's
I
another
mean,
question. Were you around other babies
no,
before you had
never.
your own? So
I
this is
was
your first
first
baby.
baby I touched.
What? Is that real?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yep.
What?
Because
How?
like, I have this fear in the back of my head, Emily, and it's still carry even though I have my own kids and, like, I know I can handle a kid. I get that kids thrash. Charlie actually thrashed out of my hands when he was very little. And I was trying to talk on the phone like this, and I was trying to put Charlie down on our changing table, and he
Suddenly
rolled
you hear
right
a
out of my
thump
hands. So
and then an
Cal hears a
"oh,"
thump
and
and
then
he
a
go, "Oh,"
scream.
and then, like, the scream started, and I said, "Call you back." Hung up.
Yeah.
To all the dads out there, mistakes happen. Your kid will likely bounce back. It's all good. This is not medical advice. What's the disclaimer that you got to put out there? Anyway,
The perfect end of the episode. Yeah.
okay, so what was the question again?
I was just kind of curious if you'd been around babies before, if this was
No.
so
Yeah,
this is
sorry.
totally new territory for you.
I grew up in a very like traditional scape of male versus female responsibility, and so even though there like was an urge to like hold a baby, like it's not something I'd pursue.
So
So
gender roles were so
that's what I'm
clearly
trying to say.
defined in your mind that you just didn't even
It's
step
like
out of your
that's
sphere.
yep, that's not my role, that's not my responsibility. But also I was the youngest on my family's side,
Yep.
almost the entire side.
Yeah.
No other babies. I was the baby growing up.
So I'm going to take this traditional gender role environment that you grew up with, and I'm going to raise you one marriage with a strong woman who asks you to show up in a different way. And I'm going to add a phrase that was bandied about quite a lot when you were a young dad, which you still are a young dad, which was very hands on father. He's a hands on dad. Kevin's a hands on dad. So you appear to be showing up differently in your marriage and potentially in your fatherhood than the way that you were raised. Yes, no. Give me a how do you feel about that statement?
I'd say yes. Am I allowed to talk about the cheat sheet? I took
Yeah.
notes.
You took notes, Kevin.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That's why I keep
Cool.
rustling the paper because I'm trying to read what I wrote down because this is good stuff over here. We haven't gotten to
Bet
most
it
of it.
is. Well, where I was going with this was I want to know what makes you feel valued now as a husband and a father.
So, Emily, you're asking different questions than what were on the sheet. So now you're making me think of it off the top of my head. What makes me feel valued? It's in the moments that Cal gives me off duty time. So, like, for us, our life is very much structured right now where it's like, I get home from work and here's the kids, you're on. And really, I'm not supposed to, even though I almost do every day, give the responsibility back. But I know Cal needs that little break after she's had him for 8 straight hours and plus sometimes. That value comes in when it's like Cal says, like, hey, you go do wood shop time. You need to go fold laundry, which for me is a time for me to just like plug in, separate, chill out. That's one way I feel value. Another that is when the random church people will come up to me after a church service and give like that nod of encouragement of like, you're doing some good work, you're doing incredible things with your kids. It's those moments where it's like I was on by myself, Cal's running music at the start, like top of church, and when that's successful, even when it's not successful, but somebody else acknowledges like, dude, you're going through it and you're doing it well, that's nice.
So as a dad, you feel value as a father when people are like, I see you. I see what you did there. Nice work.
And I think like the other thing to kind of wrap around for myself, because it ties back into like I'm the first one in my group to do this thing called being a dad. And like I had to kind of carve out my own path of what is this going to look like for me. And I can take my experience with my own family. I can take the experience of what I've seen on media, on TV, take the experience from stories, books. I was in musical theater all through high school. And honestly, those typically your average show with the character that needs to do something big and bold has a support system or has a family where either the family stuff's not very good or the family stuff's really good and really supportive. And it's like you kind of just take what you like, piece it together, put it into the shape of what I want to exemplify.
So back to support. I mean, is you're assessing through all of these values that you're taking or you're leaving or you're celebrating or they're helping you be the hero in this music theater life of yours or not? how are you finding support, or are you not? Like, have you not really found it yet?
Honestly, I would say, like, I might not have found it fully, but I don't know if, like, that's the response you're gonna get from most dads. I mean, like, I'm choosing to not do it the way that it has been carved out, like you said, like, "Oh, he's such an involved dad," and I'm like, "Isn't this just, like, what happens?"
In my mind, yes, it's exactly what
Right.
happens, but previous generations have been shook by your involvement as a dad.
And
It
so,
is
like,
now
I
what
I guess, like, where the support comes from that gives me encouragement to do it that way. Not only is from Cal and, like, the expectation of my like, family, but also, like, you see fun influencers making a meaningful impact, at least on camera, for being a good dad. A couple that come to mind is this guy that I love watching woodworking, Bourbon Moth. He's constantly working on projects or doing projects for his kid and involving his kid in what he does for work, and, like, you see that play between the two of them. And then, like, dude's an inspiration. He's hilarious, but also,
oh, he
like,
is funny. Yeah.
the things he puts out, I think has always been an inspiration for me of, like, not only is that funny, which I love to lean into funny, but at the same time, it's like he clearly just told a story about something I was just struggling with, but it helped me feel better about my struggles. And I love it. So, like, that's how I get support, but it's not in the form of, like, close connection conversational support.
That is such a funny juxtaposition because we've talked about how the social media influences are often negative for you and I, Emily. Like
Mm.
aspirations to be this mom that is just like not even real, can't be achieved. And Kevin's on this total other end of the spectrum right now, saying, it just like gives him extra juice. It's encouraging, it's funny, it's fun, like watching these dads online. That is a conversation for another day, but just fascinating.
It's interesting. So social media for me, a lot of people I think say that they feel negatively about it. I actually don't. When I talk about the negative things that I'm experiencing, it's only since I've tried to dig into mom culture. And it's
Mm,
not because I feel bad or negative. I just am like, this is a confusing lifestyle or image to me. Like, I do not resonate. Like, this
mm,
does not feel connective for me. It's not like, oh, I should be doing this or I shouldn't. I don't
mm.
think I have any mom guilt on social media yet. There's plenty of time. And I think I actually do behave more like Kevin on social media when I see something I like and I'm like, oh, good for you. You're balling. Like
Mhm.
that could be me if I made some choices, if I chose to do that, if I wanted that. But they tend to be more business women who
Mm.
have kids. But anyways, circling back to sounds like you're getting a lot of support on social media, which is really interesting to me. It's something that wouldn't be possible 10 years ago even, I think, or at least not in the same way that it is now. I'm
I mean,
wondering if
he really means like funny activities to do, which Kevin loves doing, and the kids
but it
love it.
so I need to do a circle back when you said that Callie had put all this time and effort and hours into like whatever and parenting and all that. And I am honestly wowed and impressed by all of that and inspired by the work that she does in that arena too. I do just want to give you some kudos though too and just say that the work that you do in regards to structuring and intentionally having a family it might look different than Callie's, but it doesn't
Mhm.
mean it's any less valuable. So I would just like to point out that you are also putting in a lot of hours and a lot of thought and energy. It just looks different and it should look different because you're different complementary people. I'm going to get off my soapbox and ask you if you think that dads are being left behind in our country culturally.
Yeah, I guess, like, what I had to say on that is I don't actively feel like I'm trying to look for support or backup on, like, what it means to be a good dad. For me, it ultimately is just it comes down to, like, dads now have a wider and a broader expectation than most examples that have come before. Just generationally speaking, being a dad has evolved into something different. And it doesn't mean that I had a bad dad. I had a phenomenal dad.
He's still around, Rick.
Yeah,
Shout out to Rick. He's a good one.
and he's taught me so much. But, like, his style is different from mine. He's more reflective, more reserved. But it's like when I hear my dad talk, like, I know it's time to listen, and, like, I learned that over time. And for me, my kids are probably going to be tired of me talking by the time they're 10. But you never know when a nugget of wisdom's going to drop. It's that creative side, you know. I didn't come in here
Keeping
expecting to
guessing.
describe Charlie as a squishy fruit, but hey, from now on, that's what you got to think about when you go into newborn stage.
Never going
Golden.
back.
Yep.
Are they getting
Sure.
left behind? No, because it's like we're all morphing together. It feels like at least my circle is. I like my full expectation is I'm going to be able to have Charlie be a better father figure than me. That's my hope and goal. And I'm going to be happy and proud of the day that that happens, not sad that I couldn't have been better because I think I'm doing the best I can right now. But it's always evolving, so it's not, I don't know, dude dad all the way.
Speaking of always evolving, what major changes did you see from Callie and
And or
me?
Emily.
Yeah, take or leave me, but for sure Callie, as she was going through matrescence.
Yeah, can you give me a definition of that word, please?
I don't have it pulled up, so I'm gonna
And
like
what's
fully
the
make that up right now.
origin so I can try to spell it?
Hey Kevin, have you listened to our episode on matrescence?
Sure hasn't.
Homework for you.
Yeah.
Matrescence is the term for the physical, emotional, and social transition that a person goes through when becoming a mother. So it was coined in the 70s. It's very new. I would not say that it's mainstream. It's definitely more academic these days.
Yeah, and
However, I'm obsessed with it because if you compare it to adolescence, like our bodies as women are going through these huge physical shifts. The people we're surrounding ourselves with and the things, people we need, that's all changing. We go through this kind of crises of values often, like what's actually important to me. I'm reevaluating kind of all the foundational ideas I had about my life. So it's pretty, it's kind of major, you know?
no, absolutely. And thanks for sharing that, Emily. That was for all of the listeners that are going to be tuning in to Kevin Ruhl's episode that haven't heard the other ones before. So it just gives them more context.
That
You
was the
know,
only reason.
Yeah,
just want to
phenomenal.
make sure my buddies fully knew the
Yeah,
context of my
good
response
teaching
here.
moment. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great teachable moment.
So, how did Cal change essentially as motherhood came on? I It's a tough question to ask because like Cal and I didn't get to experience adulthood. We were living it up in college where we were just like snowshoeing to the bar, not really having responsibility, staying up too late, sleeping in
Well, Callie doesn't, but
Yeah,
you
I
probably
never
did.
did, but
on a dime that switched. It flipped and it flipped faster than we were ready for. So like I'm not sure like what cadences Cal and I would have fallen into of like what our individual needs would have been within our relationship because it really went from dating to a 6 month stretch of being engaged during a pandemic. It's like we weren't really doing much outside of like being together, eating pizza on couch bed. It's a good memory, Cal. Um,
somehow it
but
is for me too.
we we went from that experience straight to having kids. So like how did I see Cal change is like I just feel like both of us in a way like our maturity just like had to step up and we didn't have a choice not to. And so like mama bear vibes. Cal just became a mama bear. Everything that she did was for the betterment of Charlie. And then when Nora came into the scene, she was mama bear for Nora specifically. And not that she left Charlie to the side, but it's like, okay, there's a little bit more liberties now automatically because brand new baby Nora needs my full attention, needs my full support. Like you said, you become a parent and your kids become just so important to you. That focus just kind of put in my mind like if I had to try to summarize it in words like an unending deep pride and compassion for the kids is what Cal has. Like it's never going to go away. She could be madder than all else, but I know that that's still going to be there. Abundant love. Cal and I can love each other as a husband and wife, but it's a different feeling I think for both of us when we refer to the love that we have for our kids. And like so that was something that changed because now we're no longer like pouring into each other, but now it's like all for the kids. That's what flipped in our heads. That's what changed. And now we have to re-navigate as parents of like, okay, let's restructure our hierarchy of needs in our relationships. And like we have to intentionally put ourselves, Cal and I, ahead of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's
It,
almost because we know we have to work for that love for each other. And like the kids are like, it's innate. It's just
Right.
there.
yeah, that's real. you began this with Cal and then you switched into like us, like our parenting journey. When you think about putrescence, which if you can think back to, like a minute ago when I shared the definition for matrescence, it would be the journey into fatherhood. Do you think that for you that shift in identity and personal evolution was on par with Callie, or do you think it was more, less, different? How would you compare the two from your vantage point?
Less. I
Say more.
Good luck to anybody that wants to try to say that they could compete with Cal's shift. She was there for the kid. Also, like, keep in mind, like, I never knew what parenting an infant baby looked like. I was the baby of
Yeah,
my family. I never saw anybody else close to
sure.
me do it, except for like that young family that would show up at church. But I never got that, like, hey, maybe that mom doesn't want people touching their baby. Never,
Yeah.
that thought never crossed my mind. I never thought that maybe that mom needs some space in the first 9 months, 12 months. Turns out breastfeeding's pretty difficult. And it's like kind of puts you into this phase of like, don't touch me.
Mhm.
Leave me alone.
Can
I don't
depend on
want
the
you breathing on my
pregnancy and the
kid.
mother. Yeah, 100%.
Those were conversations that Cal and I had of like, to me, like those thoughts never crossed my mind. When we had Charlie, I was ready to like toss him into other people's arms of like, how cool is this?
What
And
what
Cal
were
was
we
like on
wishing
top of
for
it of
Ruhl?
just like, get stop it. Like I wanted people running in with balloons into the like hospital room. I also just like probably should have given Cal a little more attention on her needs directly after the birth, but like I was ready to party. I was like, where's the champagne? This
Okay,
is
oh my
this
god.
is wild.
So we all hustled into to your hospital room the day after Nora was born?
No,
Day
I
of?
did want that.
Yeah, no, you were totally gracious. We all took you at your word when you were like, "Yeah, please come." And Callie, I was like, "Wow, you look great. This is amazing.
Thanks.
Good vibes all around." There were a ton of O'Learys in your hospital room. And K. Rule, you were like party vibes, and I was just watching you, being like, "What?" And it's wild to hear that that was 100% correct in what you were feeling. And it's so funny because you're like, here's my kid. I'm gonna show off. You want to
Uh-huh.
see my kid? You want to see my kid?
Uh-huh.
Has this nurse down the hall seen my kid? Like,
Uh-huh.
my mind's actually blown right
Have
now.
you given my
That's
kid
so
kisses
funny.
yet? You should kiss him.
No,
It's not
Kevin.
that bad. You're not that
Okay.
bad.
Honestly though,
You
Cal,
were
like that
leaning into
those
this.
thoughts weren't that like protection wasn't crossing my mind. I'm like, this kid's gonna survive it, and this is gonna be so awesome to share this joy with everybody else.
Yeah.
So Callie's journey into matrescence is like 10 out of 10. Yours is like 4 out of 10 for matrescence. Like, what kind of evolution are we talking about here?
In terms of like how I changed.
Yeah, identity
Like
shifts.
extremes.
Yeah.
I think it honest like you guys say I was better with the little baby. I'm not sure I agree with that in terms of like what was going through my head.
Good to know.
You're just
Okay.
very good at soothing them.
Well,
You're
Yeah, you're
very
so
good
like
at like
nonchalant.
comforting and yeah.
but like I had it in my head like, this kid, babies, they cry. Like Cal had to teach me that like consistent reminders of we need to be there to comfort said kid. This goes back to sleep training and really kind of what I'm focusing on in saying this, but it's like I was willing to say like, great, like 1 month in, let's do some sleep training. Like let's get this kid sleeping through the night. And
1 month in,
Cal, am I wrong? I'm pretty
I
sure
don't
like
think it was that. It was like 4 months you were like, hey, we need to do this.
I would push it to 3. But anyway,
It was early.
the point is like I was pushing for it because I didn't have that same connection that Cal had anytime she heard the cry. So like back to like,
yeah.
did it change? I think yes, but I almost feel like my change was more for seeing the need from Callie than seeing
So
the need from Charlie.
you were taking your cues directly from CalPal.
Yeah.
Okay, so last little segment, Cal, I'm watching the time.
Thank you.
I want to know how you felt that you showed up well for Callie during these phases, because you've talked a lot about how she's shown up for you. How do you feel that you've shown up for her? Part one. Part B, are there ways that you feel you want to show up better should you have another baby, or things you want to coach future dads on in showing up for their partners?
Yeah. That's a deep question. So let's break it down first. I think Because the question is, how did I show up for Callie? Right?
Yeah.
I think I stepped more out of my comfort zone. I'm a very big people pleaser. I want everybody else to experience just as much, if not more, joy than I have. And that's just by nature. So I think like the way that I truly showed up for Cal in like the biggest possible style would be standing up for what her needs were and helping her build those boundaries as we were navigating this new world. And that mainly goes into like protecting her privacy and her need to protect Charlie as an infant. So while I had the urge of wanting to pass Charlie around, and I'm pretty sure I did the first time that everybody came over to say hi to him, she called me on it. And like the way that I showed up is like I adjusted my expectations to what it is that Cal needed. Or it's like the late night things of like getting up and walking around, especially like right after Cal was all stitched up and had just like given birth. Like I didn't do, I'll get to that part, the part that I need to do better at. But like I would try to get out of bed, hold said child, soothe the child back to sleep. I think I was much more well rested with Charlie than Nora, just even going into it, and so I was more willing to say like, "Hey, I'm going to take the night shift," and I took that opportunity just to like, this is going to be Kevin time too, so that when I'm awake, it's going to be all out. This is Callie's time for me to do my best to get her what she needs, and I think there's always going to be a sense that I can do better with that. We're kind of jumping into this journey of Cal identifying like, I might be a little bit prone to distractions. And so how can I do better for the next kid? I think it's identifying and understanding that part of my life and like being in a position where I'm intentionally setting myself up for success in better and better ways of eliminating the distractions. I don't get anything in the long term out of looking at my phone. I get a whole lot out of the long term of being present with my kids. Just kind of challenging myself to be in the moment. Back to what else I can do better. Hey, dads, every dad that's listening out there, if you are a dad, if you were a dad, or if you're going to be a dad, or if you know somebody that's going to be a dad, I think I covered it all. Tell them to let their wife sit in bed for the first 7 days. I think
Kevin,
that's
it's 15. First date.
for the first 15 days.
Hold on.
Sit in bed.
You're going to
Nope.
keep
Just I just
moving
want the
around the
number.
house to
I
do
want
all
the
of the
number
things.
15. I want that
Hours?
number. No, I'm getting to it. 15 days in everyone's brains. The first 5 days are in the bed. Not even 7. 5 days are in the bed. The next 5 days are near the bed, not moving far from the bed. So, like, just kind of around the room to the shower. And then the last 5 days are just like around the house, but still near the bed.
Yep.
Just like,
And I
can't
just need
even.
to share those numbers because they are actually linked to a better experience. They
I
are
believe
linked
that.
to decreasing postpartum depression and
I do
promoting
believe that.
faster healing cycles for women. So just so we can cite the numbers, we can look up the data and put it in the show notes. But 15, 15, not 7, double that plus a day.
You heard it here, folks. For those that need
I
it to
can't even
be,
comprehend that. I'm like,
Yeah, we know.
for those
We
that
know,
need to
Cal.
hear it the way that I need to hear it, is no pooping for 5 days because you're in the bed.
bedpans only.
Oh my god.
Just no pooping.
Well, wait, I didn't.
You
With
did. You
Charlie,
don't.
I didn't.
This is another thing. Does
7
anybody know
days
that?
before I pooped.
Yeah.
We've covered that.
Is that
I think
real?
I forgot postpartum. Oh, I couldn't poop after Charlie.
It was
7
incredible.
days.
Oh, I think I was on a bunch of laxatives because I had cesarean.
Well,
So I had those 15 days and more, but different story.
I was not good at letting Cal be in the bed for the 5
Letting
days.
Cal, you'd have to make Cal. You'd have to like force her in there and like buckle her down.
You
yeah,
know,
that's the problem.
yeah, but
we all
also
know what
like
the problem is here.
Yeah.
Kevin is not the problem.
Cal has expectations for how this world is supposed to work and operate, and it's hard to get that all to be met
As a
where she
one-man
can sit
show.
back and just be content. Like it
That's true.
back to the joy or things that shook you. We got to the shaking branch on the fruit tree. I'd like to move to the trunk that you're shaking. If
Yeah,
we're sticking with this metaphor,
these
which
might
we
still
can,
be branches,
you know,
but so
feel
this
free
is
to
just
work in any of your list too.
yeah,
That
this
you
is just
compiled.
the
Love.
surprises that I had.
Yep.
What the baby looked like, we did cover that, but it just wasn't like fully in the section of surprises. That the
Yeah.
baby was squishy.
So squishy. Yeah.
That's not what babies look like on TV. Lack
Crazy.
of privacy.
Oh.
Oh, like
Once
in the
you have
hospital?
kids, you don't have
Oh.
privacy. Like you have an infant, that infant's sleeping in your bedroom for the next 3 to 6 months.
So you don't have privacy from the infant? That was new for you. I'll
Yeah.
fix my face. Okay. I mean, yeah, no, that makes sense.
No,
I
these
never
are
thought
things,
about
Emily,
that.
that it's like I had it in my head, like, oh yeah, we got the nursery ready. Like, let's put the baby in the nursery. Turns out, no,
Oh,
baby
Well, you
stays
must
in
have
your
built
bedroom for six
you built
months.
the
yes.
bassinet. You put it
I
together.
did, but I thought that was like the 15-day
Like
rule of
napping.
like, hey, baby's just going to be around for 15 days and then they're going to start sleeping through the night. Because we had friends, the Conways, who like had a 3-week old that started hitting $7 chunks. And I
Yeah,
just,
That's
that's true.
insane.
I'm proud of them. Another thing that shook me was the cost. Like,
Mm.
I'm sorry, but like when you really like bundle it all together with the baby, that gets up there.
Mm-hmm.
Of just the birth, the delivery piece.
All of the hospital visits ahead of the birth and the things
Um,
that they do at those visits,
yep.
ultrasounds, all that stuff, it all gets billed separate. It's expensive. The birth itself is expensive, but then also like you get out of the hospital and all of a sudden you're buying all this extra stuff for your house. The moment baby starts to eat actual food, now like you're no longer pumping your stuff into the cabinets. It's like the baby gets their own shelf in the cabinet and it's just like the cost keeps coming back.
Fair. We haven't even covered
Diapers.
childcare. Ooh, yes.
And I think
Yeah.
like for a while Charlie was like he was good at pooping. So we were flying through those things. So yeah. Also, okay, hey, when you get to toddler phase, the questions never stop. And that is something where it's like, yeah, that's obvious. That's what they're gonna do. You don't know what it feels like. Because I told myself, I'm never gonna say no to a question. I'm gonna be that dad that's
Good,
just
you.
that answers all the questions. I'm gonna be there for it. I think that
And you just
lasted for
ignore
like
them.
20 minutes.
You don't even respond. Kevin just like stares off blankly. And then he'll ask me. So I'll have to be like, Kevin.
Yeah, it's a problem. And I gotta get better at it. I'm sorry, Cal. Hey, you want to know another thing that threw me? This is what shook me to
I
the
do.
core, actually.
Ooh.
And Cal's ankles.
I'm sorry. I'm so I'm I am having a moment.
Do you remember Emily's ankles?
No, she also may or may not have likened me to a very rotund character in the Willy Wonka
Remember the
chocolate
girl that
factory.
blows up?
Yeah, it
into a
wasn't an
blueberry?
Oompa Loompa. Spoiler. So she wasn't ratting on my height. It was something else. Yeah. Anyways, moving on. So Callie's ankles shocked you. Okay, let's go.
Okay, Emily, this was before Kieran. This was Charlie.
Or Emily's ankles.
Okay. Callie
Yep.
went to work with normal ankles. And when she came back, her ankles, I'm not kidding.
Just so to all the listeners, also, she was a public school choir teacher. Like
Yeah.
you were standing all day long with your huge pregnant belly.
And all she said when I got home, it was like the traditional exchange. Hey, how was your day? She just stood at the doorway and goes, my ankles. That was all she said. And it's like my eyes went from her eyes down to her ankles. And I was like, that is not your body. What? And Emily, this was less than 8 hour turnaround of like no swollen ankle to completely. A way to describe it would have been like girthy ankles.
Thank you.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. No, I can picture.
Okay, so we're about to wrap this up. Otherwise, I'm going to have an aneurysm.
She's gonna
Okay.
scream.
It also
Um,
shook me.
The joy. Okay.
It shook me how Cal was uncomfortable in her pregnancy.
Yeah.
Like she was genuinely uncomfortable for a good majority of it.
Yeah.
And I guess like I just like yeah, it's obvious. Not to me.
Sorry, I'll fix my face.
Because all of these women, when they are not inside of their homes and they're out in the public, you see a pregnant woman, you don't see discomfort. You don't see frustration. You don't see
Yeah.
my back has been cramping for the last 17 days and I can't get it to stop. No, you just see them showing up and doing their thing, whether they have kids or they don't have kids. And I just think my feeling of being impressed increases the more kids that are around said individual as they're
Oh,
like
yeah.
wrangling them. I'm like, because
Oh,
that person never gets a break.
yep.
Never.
I was just gonna give you a one round heartfelt thank you for giving our side of the family, Charlie, the first grandkid
Mhm.
ever. And
So
also
cute.
doing so with such grace and humor. Like, we all just love to be around you guys, even when you're sleep deprived and you're figuring it out. And Kyle and I get to call you all the time to ask you what the hell to do with our small people. So, thank you both. We love you.
We're lucky to have the cheerleaders that we do, that's for sure.
Hmm.
Well,
Can't imagine it without that, honestly.
it's really all we can do when you're really blazing the path. So, all
I'm
right.
here and it's time for round 3. Here we go.
Ayo!
We have a very blessed life. It's very rich in so many ways outside of the physical. It like just the emotions that we get to experience on the day to day. There's plenty of hard times, but you can have 20 hard times and you get that one joyous time, and it's like, hell yeah, this is what it's all about.
Kev, it's been
Happy
an absolute
boy.
joy.
I think my wife's beautiful and she's wonderful, and I love her very much.
Love you too. Thanks.
Me too. I also love her.
She's pretty sexy.
Wait, we love you too, Emily.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Let's wrap this sucker up.
Bye. Love you.
Love you.
Bye. Love y'all.
You've been listening to The Real Mom Hub. Our music is by Naomi O'Leary. You can find us on social at The Real Mom Hub. We're not the authority or even very educated on the medical issues discussed. Do your own research, talk to an expert, make your own decisions, and call us if you learn anything new.
If you like what you hear, follow us on Instagram, or better yet, subscribe to our newsletter. If you don't, that's fine. We can all move on. Our purpose here is community, so if we've resonated with you, tell a friend.
Thanks for listening.